at taking that away from your river.
Yeah, not going to see that from your river. Of course, RSG going to be on your blue side. Alpha on the red for their final match here for Alpha. Like we mentioned, currently 7-10 overall in the standings. Now also going to see that Karma be banned out away from Raven, as well as the Callista from Weilun.
Yeah, Weilun has been fallen towards that pick in particular, sensing a little bit of comfort. And just as you mentioned, yeah, Alpha removing the Bard and as well as Karma. A lot of utility, a lot of anti-dive, if you will, when it comes to that. And now Graves being taken out as well. More hitting on the power farming jungler pool of your river.
All right, so getting rid of the Graves there on the side of RSG, like you mentioned, trying to get that one away from your river, something that can be aggressive, as well as looking for invades onto Epic, where we've seen if Epic kind of gets shut down, Resurgence don't really have a whole lot going for them, because then Raven can never get any assistance when he does get priority in that mid lane.
That makes me wonder what Resurgence decided to pick up. As usually it would be Ashe being the, as a lot of, or rather 180 carry out of the pool already, just to make sure that Quake is in a comfortable position. But you know what, never mind. Set is open, might as well just lock it in.
All right, so Set making its way through the pick and ban phase. Now gets first picked over by RSG. We'll see what they wish to go for that one, as now for Alpha. Up to them. Do they just want to go ahead and get Weilun once again back onto this Aphelios that has worked multiple times? And it seems like that is going to be the case as it gets locked in here as their first pick.
Yeah, Aphelios still sitting at a 3-on-3 record, at least for Weilun. So it is definitely one of those fallbacks for Alpha. And you pair that up with also an aggressive support such as this Thresh. It also enables that trio that we always keep mentioning, mid lane, jungle, and support, with whatever Chen 9 and your river is going to be picking up later into the draft.
All right, so interesting to also see here, though. It is going to be that Thresh for your San, so it has some playmaking potential. Now for Resurgence, we're going to see a little bit of creativity come out of here, or are we just going to see the fallback? Looks like it is going to be that Ezreal getting locked in. And now for Raven, maybe just try and get that support locked in as well. Or they could also, like we mentioned, flex the set on where it wishes to go, as Resurgence now with some viable options here for them.
That was the identity! Yes, we're going to be seeing a Lux.
Alrighty. We get ourselves a Lux. To be noted, though, the Lux that we have been seeing globally is usually paired up with a Sona. So unless this is like a mid lane Ezreal from Raven, we could be just seeing a proper mid lane Lux.
Yeah, exactly, as Ezreal already being locked in. But, I mean, it's RSG. I was about to say, the identity that RSG has managed to establish at the beginning of the split is all of these wacky and creative drafts that they're not afraid to utilize. They eventually, back at the second round robin, they fell back into more standard picks, which is what we're seeing with Alpha. So we'll see whether or not, these, as the draft progresses, will this be a little bit tricky for Alpha to deal with as they lock in that Renekton.
Yeah, it took a little bit there for the Renekton to get locked in, it seems, but still able to find it, as now into our second ban phase. Get to see a little bit of what maybe Resurgence are planning, as, like you mentioned, kind of getting taken away from Shensekai, and the Echo being banned out by Resurgence.
That's 3 different jungle picks targeted against your river, trying to force your river into a trundle position that unfortunately, again, doesn't have a really good track record when it comes to the PCS in general. And Alpha, again, very hard to ban out RSG if they're aiming towards this wacky composition, or a little bit of the unsurprising or surprising composition, as Wukong targeted towards Shinsekai once more on their secondary banning phase.
All right, also going to go ahead and get rid of the Olaf. Again, that was kind of what World 6 was running last time around. Your River, we haven't seen a whole lot of him on the Olaf himself, but interesting pickup, as it looks like we may have been booted out of Champ Select, so hopefully we'll get ourselves sorted out here, as it looks like there was an issue locking in a champion. So maybe it actually wasn't that Olaf getting locked in.
Yeah, but at the same time, I will probably not be surprised if that was indeed the ban, because 5 different bans on towards your river, just trying to remove the stage away from Alpha, at least when it comes to tempo early to mid game.
Yeah, and I think we should also remind everybody when it comes to how the seeding is going to play out from a couple of these squads. Again, Alpha, very important that they are able to take home the victory over Resurgence. It gets them out of that three-way tie that they sit currently with Hong Kong Attitude as well as Nova Esports in, as we go ahead and actually take a quick look on over to our standings.
Yeah, as we take a look at the standings, we see that Alpha is still, just as Opal mentioned, still tied up against Alpha and as well as Nova and HKA. It's a little bit tricky, and the thing is, Nova still has a game to play later on, which is up against Magi Dragons. If they do win this one, which is their last chance to bridge that gap away from Nova, and as well as, I believe, HKA, who still actually doesn't have a match anymore. This is absolutely very tricky. Still wanting to get that higher seeding, upper bracket rather, when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, because if you actually then take a look over to what the playoffs kind of entail, your seeding is going to look something along these lines, where if you're able to get into the top 6, you get placed into the upper bracket. If you're in that bottom 2, though, you only get placed into the lower bracket, and that means you only have one shot pretty much to try and make a run back all the way into the final, which, again, if you are able to, you will claim one of the 2 slots for Worlds 2020 for the PCS.
Yeah, definitely the stakes are insanely high for summer playoffs, and would like to get every single chance and second lives that you can take when we look at that upper bracket. And for Alpha, yes, they managed to secure the upper bracket slot, at least when we look at last spring's playoffs. But again, this is a completely different roster coming in to this split.
Yeah, different roster. They had the first half to develop and then the second half to execute pretty much when it came to their double round robin. And even then we saw that main change take place in the form of World 6 coming back over from the LPL, making his debut over the PCS, and looking pretty comfortable when it comes to his execution in most cases. So I think for Alpha, there's still that veteranship that's able to help guide them even with this new batch roster, which if you take a look back even further, a lot of these members used to play back onto the trainee team of Flash Wolves. So you kind of have that second generation of Flash Wolves that was in the making that never got to see the light of day now actually make their debut.
Yeah, I mean, I love the combined experiences, if you will, just as you mentioned, a lot of the veteran experience at topside. You've got the LDL duo, or in the mid and jungle position, and a lot of ECS as well for the bottom side of the map with Waylon and Yursan. So I like the mix-up. It's bringing different flavors every single time when we watch Alpha.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they can keep that flair going here for Alpha, and they can try and break that tie break like we also mentioned. And of course, we still have plenty of games afterwards. Our bottom half, you could say, is stacked with exciting matches, all having playoff implications, as immediately after this match, we will have that crown jewel matchup of our weekend, Taipei J-Team versus Mancha Esports, which will decide whether or not we have a 4-way tie for first or a 2-way tie for second between PSG and HQ. And then, of course, RSG going to look to try and upset Liab, and if they are able to do that, knock them out of playoffs. And then there is a second opportunity for that to happen if Nova is to drop to Magi Dragons later on, as I do have word that we are going to be getting back into our champ select and get things underway. It was actually a Trundle lock-in for Alpha, not the Olaf.
Yeah, it was an Olaf ban, and just as we mentioned earlier, RSG having to ban 5 different jungle picks against your River, forcing him into the cursed Trundle of the PCS, and we'll have to see. Okay, Epic. I believe this is his first time on this Karthus pickup.
This is a lot of damage coming out of this composition. You have Epic that's going to be onto the Karthus. You also have Lux via mid, as well as the Gangplank going to be likely run into the top lane. We still have to see. This could also be a flex to a set bid. That is also a possibility. We have to see. For Alpha, though, final pickup, it looks like for Gen 9, it is going to be the Akali getting locked in.
Akali being locked in for 10-9, very, very brave to pick up. Back at Spring, we've only seen the rise of Akali when playoffs came, but we're actually on our way towards the end. And now RSG putting their final picks, as it is going to be a set mid with the the poke bot lane with that Ezreal and that Lux.
All right, so a lot of poke coming down there and toward that bot lane. Maybe going to try and shut down that Aphelios early on. That might be the possibility. I do like that RSG are bringing out some of the wacky strats. Might as well. You got nothing to lose. And like they mentioned, they're looking to cause some upsets here if they're able to do so. Would put a bit of a wrench in Nova's plan and to Alpha's plans, as Nova could easily overtake them in the standings and actually leapfrog over them up into the upper bracket. Of course, though, that still depends on whether or not RSG can actually execute on the composition. It might be some weird picks, but it has to be played properly. We'll see whether or not they're going to be able to as we get ourselves locked and loaded into our third game of the day. Resurgence taking on Alpha Esports for their second final match of the summer split.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And, you know, instead of the Caribou maybe getting their dear friend with the Lily coming onto the map, we were kind of wondering, does RSG get very wacky and we get to see this champion? Not the case here. Instead, opting into the Karthus, which, again, I don't think we actually saw Epic play back in spring. He might have played it once, but this is very much a kind of do-or-nothing kind of composition coming out from RSG.
Yeah, exactly. We've usually seen Epic on playmaking junglers or stage-setting junglers such as the Lee Sin, the occasional Volibear back in summer at the moment, and this is very rare where RSG is willing to sacrifice a little bit of that power shift and move that towards Epic. Instead, Raven is going to be falling on utility duty and a great zoom in on towards Chen 9 on this Akali. Yeah, great skin.
Yeah, we already see Raven, though, not afraid to bring out the face breaker early on. Try and get some action in toward that mid lane. That's something we're going to have to be paying attention to, as it's kind of the first time we're actually seeing a lane Akali outside of, I think, the one game Shinsekai actually played earlier on during the split.
Exactly, as it hasn't been exactly insanely popular when it comes to summer in comparison to spring playoffs, I believe. But at the end of the day, we're looking at Epic now to make this Karthus work, and it's a very tricky situation on where we see on this Trundle pick either a very active or very inactive Trundle, and this gives Epic a lot of room to just free farm and have a comfortable farming phase for this Karthus. You keep getting ahead, and the fact that you have a very execution-based bottom lane where once Quake and Boxer reach level 6, they have the True Shot Barrage, they have the Lux ultimate, and therefore, if that's not enough, then you press R as well on Epic side, and bye-bye Waylon. Not a lot of sustain to work with as well when it comes to your lane.
And also, when they were able to get some priority from Raven mid, they weren't actually able to get that war down. So for Epic, he's able to keep himself a little bit safe. And starting to see a little bit of that tech that I know Briz mentioned back in the J-Team game we saw about 2 weeks ago when Hana was on the Karthus, just looking to toggle in and off with that lane waste, I do believe. Or Defile, one of the two. Meanwhile, bot lane, though, there's your action coming out from Alpha early. And poor Quake, nowhere to run. Only a first level there. It's first blood going on over to your river and looking to add Boxer to the list. A nice sidestep away from the death sentence, but that's a double kill onto the Trundle. Yorsan able to survive with the heal coming out from Waylon.
And then Boxer tried to take your son with him, having to put that ignite, but unfortunately the Thresh still survives with that heal, even with that ignite tick. And that is a beautiful dive, and that's the worrisome part of RSG having that Karthus jungle. We were wondering whether or not your river will be maybe sleeping Trundle or maybe this active Trundle that we've seen. And look at that, level 1 of RSG bot lane still, and they're able to get 2-0 against them on this dive.
Yeah, unfortunately, a massive wave also crashing in means that Alpha are going to try and defend that as well and just deny a lot more from Quake and Boxer, and that puts them pretty far behind to start off their lane here with this looks in the support role, which you want to try and maybe at least get a little bit ahead so she can at least get some decent damage off. But a great start here for the Alpha bot side.
Yeah, level 3 for RSG bot lane is great. So you strike when they're at their weakest, which is definitely level 1. They're unable to trade here and there, have to wait a bit of those cooldowns, only having to rely on the Mystic shots. And yeah, they're playing that really well. And let's see how that's going to translate even more as RSG. I guess, unfortunately, though, when we look at the mid lane, you have Chen 9 on the Assassin, and you're up against Raven, who's actually very tanky to deal with Chen 9, is able to get good trades like this.
I see. Haymaker comes out. Chen 9, though, not afraid to just jump back into the fray. And Raven, oh no! Little aggressive, has to burn his heal, as the Ignite would have killed him, and Chen 9 willing to do a little bit of limit testing, it seems, here on the Akali, not even blowing his flash.
That's the scary part. Your River, though, making his way in mid lane.
Boxer, though, is going to spot out your San, as they're going to now pop in over toward the side. In goes the shield, but there is your River joining into the fray, and that's going to be another kill onto this Trundle. Now 3 kills over to your River.
Nicely done timing on that visit, and RSG took a risk. They wanted to see whether or not they can bait Chen 9 to be a little bit more forward, but the fact that Chen 9 stayed just means that Alpha, your San, and your River are making their way to get a punish kill of Raven overextending.
Yeah, and your River kind of already onto his onto that KDA potential there. Already sits at 4 overall and has 3 in his back pocket to start this game off. And this gets very, very ugly for Resurgence the longer this keeps happening. They need to try and find a way to stem the bleeding.
Yeah, I was wondering where the E went of Boxer there. Could have E'd and auto-attacked Chen 9. Could have been enough to finish off the kill. But nonetheless, again, level 6 will be the key for RSG here, because we saw how HP bars can get insanely low when it comes to these traits that we've seen so far, especially in the mid lane. And that Requiem will be disastrous for Alpha if they're not too careful.
I think the thing that's interesting, though, is we're not seeing Resurgence play via Raven like we usually do, because as far as consistency goes, he's kind of the one player on Resurgence that we haven't seen falter. Usually Shensekai is the punching bag up in top lane. Epic, he has his on, he has his off days, and then Quake and Boxer we just haven't seen enough of just yet.
That's true. That's the thing. This is one of the first few games that we've seen where RSG is relinquishing the throne, if you will, away from Raven and putting that shift of more on that damage output rather, more on Epic side of things, as Epic is usually, again, the stage setter for Raven in the mid lane.
Still seeing here as Quake also picks up his tier on his first back, so going to be starting scaling there. We're not going to see a whole lot of damage, though, come out of this Ezreal for a little bit, and you kind of lose that instant burst. And the fact that Wei Lun also has level 6 on this bot lane already of the Aphelios kind of shows just how far ahead he is. This is also a bit of a change of pace, because Wei Lun is usually that one person on Alpha that we say, oh yeah, you know, that bot lane, he's still a rookie, he's still getting experience. Well, when he goes up against other rookies that haven't had a whole lot of tier 1 time, he seems to be able to play just fine.
That's the thing. This is Wei Lun's time to shine. At first, he's been a sub, and it's his first time as that starter for Alpha. And with that said, it seems the experience on the PCS has managed him to gain a little bit more confidence, and that's what we see, a little bit more far ahead in comparison to what we see between Quake, who is a little bit behind when it comes to the levels and the CS.
There you go.
You get it, yeah.
I know, you missed the Q there. The blue buff has a mind of its own. You know, sick dodge coming out from blue buff. I'll play it.
It happens.
Zirsan coming into mid lane, looking a little bit like Spider-Man. He's actually looking to rotate toward the top side of the map, because it looks like the call is going to be toward this Rift Herald on the side of Alpha.
Yeah, RSG unable to trade any of the resources as Alpha has garnered or has gained the first dragon of the game, which means that they are going to be safely transitioning and is able to contest that Rift Herald. And it's all due to because bot lane of RSG insanely behind, which means RSG unable to contest.
You see your River and your San kind of realizing, oh, we're on top of a ward. We can't go for the Lantern play. Meanwhile, Epic has been power farming his way via the jungle on this Karthus, and that's kind of that, like you mentioned, late game Requiem that could kind of turn things around for Resurgence if he's able to get himself rolling, as he actually just leaves one of the Krugs there himself, but nonetheless, he's still going to reset the camp. Meanwhile, though, Rift Herald's going to get started up here, as that's a lot of pressure on the bot side of the map, but there's no objective for Resurgence to take.
Yeah, the exchange that RSG decided to do is just possibly go for Your River's camps while the Trundle is busy having to get the objectives off of the map. And it's just one of those things where will Resurgence, when Epic comes online, will they be able to still stand equally as Wayland has been having the time of his life in the bottom side of the map?
That's very aggressive. Going to use the Haymaker, and Your River has to flash himself back to save the Epic. Going to come back into the fray and trying to avoid the damage as Gen 9. Unfortunately, still waiting to try and turn this one back around. In comes the ultimate, though, from the Cannon Barrage, and looking for the outplay. Not going to find it, as Raven is able to find the kill on the set, as RSG find themselves on the board.
Yeah, Gen 9 try to make an outplay, try to make an escape, but he's just too low. There's nothing else he can do, considering the fact that your son also tried to rotate in the mid lane, but RSG bot lane is able to do, or Your River? A little bit worried there.
There you go.
Requiem.
Requiem comes on down, and that gets Epic on the board once more. As now he gets his first kill on this Karthus, and a hope here for Resurgence as they're able to start turning around this early game.
Yeah, we were talking about, Alpha, take care of your health bars, or else you will be in kill range of that Requiem, and that's exactly what happened. And again, your son, I feel like he was trying to rotate, but because of RSG bot lane having to interrupt him, therefore unable to just respond and save Gen 9. And Raven taking a lot of risky plays under tower, pretty much insanely worth it, as he's able to pull in Your River in range and finish off the kill with that Requiem still.
And that's just the power of having that Karthus, and unfortunately Your River, no way you can dodge that on a Trundle. He's going to end up costing him his life with no stopwatch, and that actually gets a decent shutdown also thrown onto Epic, which is very nice to see, as he goes back into his jungle and he says, I will be back in about 2.5 minutes when I have my ultimate again, my children. I'll see you then.
Or just stay in the jungle forever and press R.
There is going to be that Rift Herald, though, and they say, all right, well, guess what? We're just going to go ahead and put as much gold as possible onto this Aphelios early and get Wei Lun online.
And that is the biggest threat that RSG should watch out for, as bottom lane isn't exactly having the time of their life. But at least they've managed to slow down, as Your River hasn't even made a second visit or 3. Gen 9 big trouble as bottom lane is actually rotating here in the mid lane.
And what would be a perfect end here if you're a Nova fan in particular too, is if Alpha aren't able to actually win this game, there's a high possibility that Nova can actually leapfrog over them in the standings when it comes to that upper bracket seeding. And then Alpha would be toward the bottom there alongside either Berjaya or Hong Kong Attitude. There's the lights there, so there is still playoff implications if Alpha do not win this game. Resurgence have nothing to lose at this point. This is them just having fun and trying to do what they can to be the upset and be those thorns in the side for some of these teams that need these desperate wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Still very important for Alpha to take this win, but Resurgence is kind of that block, that boulder that they gotta destroy. Especially, RSG also sorta, I would say sorta important considering the fact that they still put Quake and Boxer being on that starter for this match. Still having to, I believe, test the waters on these new players for Resurgence.
I think Alpha weren't looking at them as a boulder, maybe more or less a pebble that maybe they've actually tripped over the way this goes, but here we go. Epic. Gonna come toward the top side, possibly, as Shinsuke's gonna be checked over the wall. Epic nearby, gonna pop that blast cone. Fortunately, not within range. It looks like there was a little bit of miscommunication between the pair of them. That control ward will get at least cleared out here by Epic.
Plus the fact that Epic and Shinsekai, their combination in mid-top with their picks is not going to be enough to hold Bush down. He's going to be very slippery, especially if he does have that flash. And we haven't really seen this bottom lane go towards that execution approach with their final spark and true shot barrage, and then you have Epic finishing off the kill. We will probably see that later on as they get more items in their pockets.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Boxer. Still a little while before that Lux is going to really be doing any damage. As you saw, the final spark wasn't even able to kill the caster minions on a wave just yet. So, you know, still a little bit before we get that combo. Meanwhile, top lane, this has been another gangplank that we've just not seen any pressure be thrown over. And it's allowed Shinsuke to actually pick up his training force in decent time.
And it's all thanks to Raven's matchup against Chen 9, having to constantly bully wait up?
Oh, there you go. A nice catch out here, and your River's going to get taken on down once again. Ignite ticking, and he gets the safety, but Requiem again ensuring he gets the kill as Epic finds his second one on the Karthus.
I just love the fact that Quake still threw out that true shot barrage. Yes, it still adds stacks to your tier at least, but just for safety precautions, adding in more damage and to scout where he is. Despite having the Requiem already channeling your side.
Oh, Boxer.
Oh no.
Gets caught out. Easy pickup kill there for Wei Lun, and small mistakes like that could end up costing you. That actually gives the first proper kill on over to this Aphelios.
Yeah, 102 Infinity Edge already in his pocket, and if he's always with your son, then it's going to be an easy kill, but your River, very comfortable considering the fact that there's not a lot of vision to work with, and very less worry, but Requiem will finish off the kill. But for Alpha, at least they're able to trade it off after Boxer being too comfortable himself, having to deward here and there in the tri-brush.
Yeah, your son, that's an easy setup for himself, and Boxer's going to probably want that one back, but nonetheless, he still gets the kill onto the Karthus. Not the end of the world. It's only about a 1,500 gold lead that you are working with, and we have been able to see that Shinsuke himself still not being pressured out all that heavily, and that keeps that gangplank scaling in a side lane.
But the thing is, Bush has been split pushing his way to victory for the team since Alpha has been doing well so far with their composition without Bush. As we can see, that bottom tower, that inner tower, is actually almost about to collapse, and considering the fact that bottom lane tower for Alpha is still pretty much healthy. And with that said, no objective so far to take off from the map except for this Rift Herald that Alpha is already starting.
Now, we didn't see the last time when the Rift Herald was picked up. It didn't really blow open any part of the map itself. But maybe now, if Bush is able to claim that tower in bot lane at some point, maybe that allows Alpha to start playing around this Connected and actually joining in on the fight, because that's where majority actually of this gold has been injected upon, outside of the Trundle, as Chen 9 wasn't able to really find any kills himself, and we at least see Resurgence trying to at least get a little bit of invade and siphon away some of the gold away from Alpha.
Basically what RSG wants to do in exchange of having to trade at least, if not a tower, then at least take away your River's camps. But Alpha having to play very sneakily here on this tri-brush.
There you go. In comes just the Coon squad over to Raven. Going to pop the showstopper to try and turn things back. But an easy execute coming out from Chen 9 is going to secure the kill.
Held on very much. Hold on till the end on that Haymaker, but unfortunately no escape whatsoever, despite having to use both summoner spells from Raven. And with that said, that's a very easy execution. It all boils down to vision control that RSG unfortunately doesn't have at the moment, as Alpha is able to sneak in a kill.
Oh,
maybe
there you
that
go,
too.
Nice combo going to come on through, and there is that burst we're finally going to see out of Quake and Boxer as the Ezreal is able to find his first kill.
Didn't even need the Requiem coming from Epic there, as True Shot Barrage, all the combo in the world from that Lux as well, is enough. And for Alpha, they're able to at least get a kill on towards Raven, but at the same time, RSG is able to trade back again by eliminating their carry, as Wei Lun is also gone.
Yeah, Wei Lun maybe getting a little bit too comfortable as the ward coverage was there for the side of Resurgence. Even then, it felt like your son was saying, all right, kind of have to turn this one back around, and unfortunately for them, Wei Lun just gets blown up before he can really do anything else, and there you go. Another kill secured here by RSG. Bush, though, going to try and get on top of Epic, but realizing, oh, this may not be the best decision in the world, decides to back off.
Yeah, no information where the rest of RSG is. You're going to be very deep into RSG's jungle. Therefore, it's the right call, as you can be a little bit more patient considering that Alpha just released that Rift Herald in that mid lane. And I think the biggest problem once Alpha would like to siege, RSG has pretty decent wave clear in the form of that Lux, and as well, maybe a little bit on Epic's side, and as well Shinsekai's barrels on that gangplank.
And as you see, Chen 9 has just gone away toward the top side of the map. Isn't really wanting to play along with the team. Just wants to be that split push fresh threat. Similar to what Shinsekai himself has been trying to do, as we see Epic being tracked through his jungle. Raven, though, did spot out your San. River's nearby, and there you go. They're just going to go ahead and engage. Showstopper, though, will come out. In comes the hook, but in comes that final spark alongside the True Shot Barrage. River able to get himself back to safety.
Requiem?
In comes the Requiem. Is it enough? Yes, it will. Epic on a killing spree. 3-0-1 on the Karthus.
Ooh, that's gonna be a little bit tough as your River, once again, this is Alpha's fight that they wanted to start to begin with, and unfortunately, I believe Chen 9 wasn't even around for that. And those choke points are just deadly because RSG Raven meets up with Chen 9 though.
Meets up here. We'll see if Raven can actually do what he wishes to. Haymaker's getting charged. Not going to do much else though as Chen 9 decides just to back off the safety in the lane.
Yeah, going back, Alpha has to be careful with these choke points, because these choke points are crucial. What can happen to you? Easy barrel setup, choke points on that cannon barrage with that gangplank, and as well as easy CC with those linear skill shots from a boxer on that Lux. And this is, again, the fight that they wanted to start to begin with, and unfortunately, they're not prepared for this one.
And meanwhile, we still have that action taking place toward the top side of the map. Chen 9
Oh,
wants to
no!
finish off the kill, and he will. Cannon Barrage, though, comes out from Shinsekai, and Epic's going to try and finish off the kill himself. And unfortunately, Chen 9 has nowhere to run, and now 4 kills onto Epic in prime position to carry RSG later on.
Yeah, definitely. He on a rampage, 4-0-1. Has a large rod already in his pocket, and a couple of shutdown gold bounty on top of Epic's head, and that's gonna be a huge problem because Chen 9 tried to solo Raven. It worked out in the end, but Epic is just right nearby to trade a kill and make it a 1-1 exchange.
So at least Epic gets himself another kill, which is nice to see. And unfortunately, Chen 9 doesn't get away scot-free for his kill he's able to find onto Raven. Still got to note, though, that Akali later on in the game can be a very big threat over to Epic and Shinsekai if they are left out. Same with Quake if he's not nearby. Even Boxer. There's a lot of squishy members that Chen 9 can rip apart come the late game. The question is, even if you take down one of them, you still have to deal with another 3 different threats on the side of RSG.
Exactly, and even if you do eliminate Epic, he's still able to make use of himself because of that Karthus passive and still be able to be active after a couple of seconds. And there's a lot of range involved as well when it comes to Quake and Boxer, and therefore Chen 9 will have a difficult time having to reach these carries. Shinsekai, I suppose, will be the most vulnerable and be the most up-close and personal.
Oh, wow. Your River getting a little bit too comfortable. As you can see, that isolation that comes out from Epic. Bush on the mean side, though, is going to get caught out. The barrel was connected, and in comes the rest of the damage as Raven finds himself 400 gold in his back pocket. But Alpha are the ones to make the call and just push in mid.
Great call from RSG, or rather from Alpha. They're able to push the waves, especially at top side, considering the fact that RSG, look at how they're moving. They're not going to pull in resources to defend topside and just sacrifice that to exchange it for mid lane.
Meanwhile, though, Shinsekai free to farm on a side lane with this gangplank. Now is also picked
he's flashing!
His Essence Reaver, and that's going to be a flash forward coming out from your San into the Showstopper, though, from Raven. Haymaker connects only on Wei Lun, but once again, I've seen this one before. It's another Requiem that goes unstoppable with the Karthus, as now Quake steps on forward, getting some decent damage. Chen 9 has to use his ultimate to get himself back to safety, and RSG are able to turn back the fight.
RSG looking great here on their match against Alpha. A lot of confidence too, which we saw to be, I suppose, the issue that we saw when they come up against, especially maybe middle of the pack and top teams in the PCS, and they're looking really, really great at the moment, especially with their execution when it comes to the engage for RSG.
And there you are, RSG. Again now, Epic in a very good spot as Yurzan able to at least get himself that hook, but Boxer gets himself back to safety, and unfortunately he only has one stopwatch currently in his inventory. Can't get himself away from that Requiem.
And they're not even able to get a trade off of this Chen 9. Unfortunately, no escape whatsoever. Actually managed to escape, but no kills whatsoever that Alpha is able to trade.
So there we are, as Alpha at least going to try and do what they can to maybe secure control up toward the top side of the map. Try and regain something here in this game. To be fair though, Gold is still dead even, and you always have that late game insurance policy in the form of this Aphelios, that if he is able to survive during some of these fights, especially now that he's finished off the QSS, gets some MR as well as that cleanse, may have a bit of words for RSG, especially with all these squishy members and no real frontline outside of the set.
Yeah, exactly, and I guess for Wei Lun, he's definitely going to be insanely scary later on, and therefore, what can RSG do to try and eliminate this scary carry of an Aphelios with Wei Lun? And they do have a lot of access. Well, they don't have backline access, but they do have a lot of abilities to pass through that, and therefore Requiem counts, Final Spark counts, True Shot Barrage counts. Therefore, they don't have to sacrifice position to be able to get through Wei Lun.
And just getting some word now, our pause, it is actually Resurgence, just having a couple of ping spikes over on our end, so our technicians are going to go ahead and take a look into that situation. Again, a reminder for both of these squads. RSG, we mentioned, nothing to lose, nothing to really gain other than a little bit of respect back up from some of these teams that were demolishing them earlier on during the season. And it just seems also for Alpha, this Resurgence squad, the first game, reminder, Resurgence were very close to winning. It was off a clutch play from Yo River to turn things around, but it kind of feels like some of the options here for Alpha are starting to run out.
Exactly, as Epic had a very nice free farming phase, he was able to take exchange kills with the Requiem, and Alpha, time and time again, have to be paranoid of their HP bars just to not get in kill range of that Requiem, and because of that, they're getting a little bit hesitant whenever they have to face off with these skirmishes and the clashes in the objective fights.
Yeah, so again, objective fights might get a little bit hectic to say the very least, so there's still that opportunity, but just getting word here that we might be heading on to a quick break until we get that resolved. So again, our current matchup, Resurgence taking on Alpha. We're at that halfway point in the game, and again, our referees and technicians are going to be taking a look to see exactly what is going on their end, and hopefully we can get that resolved. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and take a couple quick little short breaks and maybe tune in and see what Machi thinks of some of their fans play when we do a quick little game of Guess Your Rank. Demacia!
大家好，我是 Maji 的上路 PK，
我是马姐的打野卷奶，
我是 Maji 的中路 Mission， 谢谢 PCS 的邀请，今天来到多点同理心，跟观众们互动。
现场观看观众投稿的操作影片和实际观众段位相差最远的选手将接受相当有趣的惩罚。
我希望可以看到一点好笑一点的操作，这样我才可以比较猜不中。
很秀的啊，可以让我学到一招的感觉吧。
因为平常都是大家看我们玩嘛，想说这次换我们看他们玩的时候，看会不会觉得别人也很智障，因为别人看我们的时候都觉得我们很白痴。
Your will, my hands.
他已经完美了，
然后什么都没挡到了。
那个卡车像我，
这 feel 有点问题。
打野的尊严不能吊篮，真的一招都没挡到哎！
还干嘛？有点靠赛感觉，
装备差距，
感觉是装备差距。
发一下。哎，数字你没写，你数字没写。
哦，是啊，那2好了。
对，那一样怎么？哈，3个都一样。我们的默契。
噔噔噔噔，2号惩罚。
来，你们猜拳。
剪刀。
输的惩罚，最输的哦。
换中间的好。
剪刀石头布。
垃圾。
肯定都一样，我们赢了。
哇
，Baby ball。
不要都同一只。
他说不用客气啊。
白痴哦！
再多一点。
我要自己磨吗？
还是我帮你？
不
不要！
你要哪一个？
这个。
哇，这个怎么？你在跟我开玩笑？
不可能吧？超难。
最后一包给他开不习惯。
你知道吗？
我是立牌小天使。
我连这个都开不了吗？我这不行。哎，可以，我开了。
啊，作弊！还是你这一次？
我这样也吃不了。
对啊，他在操作，1-2-1-2。
我觉得我们做错了，我们不应该一直看那个赛事，我们应该看其他人在干嘛。哎，那个提摩在逛，看出来了，我知道怎么排位。
他有中香菇，他有中阿浪
这
头，
不重要。
阿浪头。得，绝了！
赚了，白痴哦。
好赚哦！
不是啊，我感觉这我同学都可以啊。是我的。我选择的惩罚是4号。第一位是我们的东山大哥，还有我们自己宿舍里的摄影师。我们有一间浴室，那个小门是透明的。有一天东山在洗澡的时候，我们那个摄影师就明明就知道有人在洗澡，他就硬要走过去看东山，然后他们两个就互看了一下。
你是拿着相机？
没，
这就不，
他是裸体啊
OK
他在洗澡啊，东山在洗澡啊。
他吓到不敢说话。我没差，我们可以看。看一下，就
从此决定
修一修啊，不然怎么洗澡？他会走哎，
他是高手。
哦，他会玩哎，
哇哦，
哎这个
他这波有点秀哎。
哇，这个是会玩的。
哇，钻进去秀起来。
这个应该是今天最高的了吧？
啊，这看起来是 NG 哎，他有 disco。他露馅，抓到。他5排，他超多个，他一直在亮灯，抓到。
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We were able to resolve our tech issues, and immediately right off the bat, we got Alpha looking for a possible Baron attempt off the pause.
Will you look at that? And RSG is wondering now the True Shot Barrage will spot this out. What will RSG do now?
There you go, Spinal Spark gonna connect, 2,000 health onto the Baron. It's gonna go 50-50, over the wall they go. Raven able to get the showstopper, but Baron was secured by Alpha Esports. Raven, much else he can't do. Epic still waiting on the cooldown from the Requiem, and it's a nice quick take coming out from Alpha.
What a risky decision from Alpha, and it paid off tremendously. They're able to shift back a little bit of power on their end with that Baron take, but RSG waves are not in favor of Alpha and therefore are able to trade with at least a tower here and there. And a bit of jungle control, I suppose, towards Alpha. Your River being very aggressive at the moment.
Yeah, he got himself that nice pillar. He's able to slow down and also try and slow Quake himself. They are on the hunt here. May have to be careful. You can tell that Alpha, if they're able to find a good fight in their favor, could easily start knocking down towers via mid. But it looks like Resurgence are going to be able to at least backtrack, but still now on the back foot for the next 2 minutes.
This is the time where RSG will be a little bit more confident to take control of the game and fight back, as Quake already fully stacked on his Muramana, as that gauntlet already completed. Athene's already completed as well towards Boxer. Rabadon's is a huge spike for Epic as well on this Karthus. And we're still waiting at least for that Infinity Edge for Shinsekai, for his barrels to deal a huge amount of damage in these fights. But Alpha has been avoiding RSG. Never mind.
They will get spotted out there. Shinsekai now is in a bit of trouble himself, is able to get a
Wow.
good barrel combo and forces the flash on Wei Lun. Final Spark is going to connect on all three members, and in comes Epic on the back line, trying to get the damage onto Wei Lun. Ends up going into a stopwatch immediately, but Shinsekai flashing on forward. He's able to find the kill, but that's a massive shutdown. Going over to Bush, your son. Is he going to be able to get himself back to safety?
Oh, no.
Yes, he will. Meanwhile, bot lane, though, that's going to be an aggressive play, but Shinsekai able to teleport back, and this Pirate is all over the map, but the inhibitor tower will be destroyed.
That would have been the perfect setup for Shinsekai too, but Alpha is able to escape and as well as keep their HP bar safe from any sort of Requiem execution. And now that we see how painful Shinsekai could get, therefore Alpha, what they're trying to do is just trying to separate RSG as much as they can and just pour away and now focus on different lanes instead, just what we see in the bottom side.
Yeah, unfortunately there, Raven can't do a whole lot on the bot side of the map when there's a massive wave piling on in, but like we saw, Shensekai comes in with the teleport after taking down the kill on Wei Lun, got himself a nice little bit of a shutdown because Wei Lun is so far ahead in CS, and now has finished off his Infinity Edge.
And that's going to be another huge spike as well. Just as we mentioned, Boxer is going to be in the middle of it all. That is a very dark map, but Alpha still, again, have to rely heavily on your son's death sentence to start the fight. And that's a little bit of minimal, I suppose, reliance on towards that setup as well. They do have really good punish coming from Alpha. Good 1-3-1 as well, therefore. But now, they're actually in the mid lane altogether.
This is a little bit scary here, though, from RSG. Flash comes out from Yursan with the Death Sentence, does not connect onto any members, and now a possible turnaround. River, though, gets himself back to safety. True Shot Barrage able to cut onto 2 members of the back line. Shensekai looking for a flank. Bush already popped his ultimate. Alpha, though, able to rotate back and get down onto this Mountain Drake for its spawn. RSG, though, looking for a push in mid.
Yeah, that is the decision, as Alpha already has blown a lot of ults for themselves, therefore they're not prepared to fight RSG head-on. But this is the decision that RSG decides to make. Alpha have yet to go back to base, therefore this is free tower, inhibitor tower for the taking.
You see, though, Chen9 on the flank, looking to try and get on top of some of these squishy members himself, especially if Quake is caught out, but does have that arcane shift to get him to safety. And a tower will be traded at least by Resurgence, but now Alpha on Soul Point ahead of the next Dragon.
And RSG will definitely want to deny and slow that down for Alpha. I guess it's just very difficult for Alpha's composition to work as a 5v5, just because there's not a lot of heavy engage options, just as we mentioned, having to rely only on that death sentence. And if all their ults fail, that means they have to just shy away from the battle. And RSG has so many resets for the fight. Eventually, as the game progresses, Lux's Q will be on a very short cooldown, and Raven as well being that primary engage for the team to be up close and personal against Alpha.
So there you see. A little bit of a lull in the action at the very least here for Resurgence. So you could tell that Alpha's still trying to put down the pressure onto Resurgence. Thing to note, though, Epic will soon have his final point into his ultimate, as well as just picking up his Morellos, as well as the death cap earlier on. This Karthus is now going to chunk members of Alpha out just with the Requiem. Opting to go for the Morellos and sit of the Leandries. Just trying to get a little bit of the healing cut down from what you would see out of course, the Aphelios, the Akali, pretty much every member outside the Thresh, so not a necessarily bad pickup. Now a little bit here to see whether or not Resurgence is going to be able to stall things out, as Shensekai still coming online, looking for his final item soon himself.
Yeah, going back to the itemization, Alpha is also trying to prepare themselves for the big chunky damage from Epic.
River? Getting a little bit too aggressive here. True Shot Barrage is going to come out, ends up missing as the Lantern gets him back to safety, and those are picks that Resurgence are probably going to want to try and finish, especially when you take down the jungle, especially now that the Baron has respawned.
Yeah, and that's the reason why Alpha is not able to... Yo, look at that damage for River. He's already half HP. He does have that regen at least going on for him, but the fact that he is threatened enough for him to go back to base, which means RSG has a little bit more of that control over this Baron pit.
And you can see those barrel combos still able to get a little bit of damage even onto the tanky members such as Bush. Do see Chen9 though looking for a flank himself, is going to get spotted out though by that Lux. A little bit back into the ARAM via mid lane. There are going to be some waves, though, starting to group up and pushing back into Resurgence. See, Epic needs to get himself back to safety. Chen9 is the back line. Jessen's going to connect.
Wow.
And Epic's going to get taken on down. In comes the ultimate, though. And here comes the Requiem once more. Into the soft launch they go. But they're able to take down Chen9. Wei Lun gets himself back over to safety. But a massive barrel comes out from Shensekai. And he finds the shutdown. And over the wall, Yursan is able to find himself. But the Pirate is on the hunt once more. One more 4 parlay will finish him off. A double kill for the Gangplank and the push in mid, but Bush is able to find himself a kill as well as soak up the minions via mid, but Shensekai once more hunting down members, not able to find the crit. Raven should be able to finish him off here quite shortly, but in comes that push via mid for Resurgence.
There's a little bit of minions at least waiting for Quake to get by and help push towards that inhibitor. Bush buying a lot of time though, as he's able to dodge. But look at this chase.
There's your chase. Finally will get shut down, and that's just more gold onto the back pocket of Shensekai. Pingzo coming out for the Baron. They were able to take down the mid lane inhibitor, and now Shensekai and the rest of the squad with a NAN advantage for the next 45 seconds.
505 on Shensekai at the moment, with bounties building on towards this angry pirate alpha though. Still losing one more member, still waiting for one more member, so it's a temporary 4v5.
Oh my, your River, can he pull it off here? 1500 health onto the Baron, goes on over the wall, and it's actually Shensekai that's able to secure it with a crit. Your River gets himself back over to safety. A nice hook though comes back onto Raven, goes golden, and if RSG wanted to, they could turn back this fight. Somehow though, Alpha are able to win back this fight. Raven though brings down Showstopper onto your River, True Shot Barrage into the final spark, able to get some damage back off. It'll be a 1-for-1, but Baron in the hands of Resurgence.
Yeah, looks like that 1-for-2 exchange is still pretty worth considering the fact that RSG only lost one member. They're still able to keep 4 Baron-empowered players on their feet. And with that said, this all started because Alpha just really wanted to get that kill. But again, Epic, even though he's the first one to fall, he can still do damage and still contribute to the team. And the fact that everyone is just bunched up together in that spot where Epic can just deal a huge amount of damage in range. And unfortunately, Boxer tried to execute Bush, but the damage is not enough as a support Lux, and therefore Bush is able to just dive in, get that Conqueror stack, and eliminate you right off the bat.
And with that too, Resurgence are able to also find their 3rd dragon of the game, prevent the Mountain Soul from going on over to Alpha, which would kind of hinder a little bit of their damage. But now, GA completed for Shensekai, this pirate very much online, and you can tell that damage into the True Shot Barrage. Chen 9 gets himself back to safety. Final Spark gonna connect, but that support Lux just not enough damage yet, but a massive minion wave starting to form down toward the bot side of the map.
Yeah, it was enough for Resurgence to just scare away Chennai and having to heal back up. Therefore, more room for Resurgence to just eliminate this inhibitor tower and as well as that inhibitor and move on to the next lane.
And Resurgence, there you go. 2nd inhibitor is going to fall here on the side of Alpha. Quake, though, might get caught out himself. Epic once again gets hooked. But that Arthas, he's fine being in the middle of the fight because once again, your Requiem comes on down and takes down chunks, members of Alpha, not getting the full secured kill, but Resurgence still plenty healthy on the health bars.
Yeah, it's enough, and now they still have Baron, and they're knocking on towards the Nexus Tower already.
This is a bit of a risky situation though for Resurgence, especially if a hook does land. Your Surd able to get himself a decent amount of CC, but again, Shensekai still has his GA, and Resurgence, it looks like they may be the upset kings when it comes to the final week of play. Alpha gonna be stuck in a 3-way tie in the middle of the standings. Nova are gonna be thanking Resurgence as they're able to find their 2nd victory of summer.
Oh my word, Resurgence is able to do it, ending their loss streak and finally getting their 2nd win. Even though, yes, they can't gain anything, they can't lose anything anymore, but you know what? They're able to shake things up in the standings, especially when it comes to the middle pack teams. And now I'm afraid for Liab. Because of this performance, I'm afraid for Liab.
Now Liab's like, are you serious? This is when you come online? Now actually just panicking? And oh my lord, that is not the upset I think we had all expected today, considering Alpha were pretty heavy-handed back in spring, but it seems like this Resurgence squad has this Alpha kind of figured out. Unfortunately, there's still 8 other teams in the league that they need to worry about. And again, Resurgence, they don't gain anything outside of just some extra pride heading into the postseason at the very least, even though they're not going to be able to make it into playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just as you mentioned, must feel really good having to at least end that in a 1-1 against Alpha. Also make things a little bit chaotic when it comes to the standings, and also gain momentum as well when they face Liab later on. And for sure, Liab, They're probably feeling a little bit shaky after seeing this performance.
And also for Jensen, he's going to be also thanking his blessings because he originally in one of the fan discords for another region, he said, you know, the 0-18 dream is dead, F in chat, but 1-17 was still a possibility. He said this all the way back in June, and it wasn't until the final week of play he was able to break this curse alongside the rest of the squad, and they're able to at least not go 1-16. And end up actually now in the possibility of trying to match their spring season record.
Exactly, and we've been talking about Shinsekai at the beginning of the split. He is now shined on this Gangplank pick, allowed to just farm it up and create such impactful barrels and cannon barrages at the later stages of the game. 607 too.
Yeah, this is going to be the first time that we'll see this MVP photo, I think, in a long time here for any of the Resurgence squad. And Shinsekai, I don't know, maybe it was the stream host afterwards when he was streaming solo queue last night. Maybe that gave him the confidence. He said the viewers are with me, and the rest of the PCS may be with me as well. But with that, Resurgence are able to find an upset, and now that causes a whole bunch of madness when it comes to our standings, and we are going to go ahead and take a look at that in our next match, which of course, speaking of next matches, it is our crown jewel of this weekend. Taipei J Team versus Machi Esports. If Machi are able to find the victory, they will force a 4-way tie at the top of the standings when it comes to the PCS Summer Split. Taipei J Team could lock in sole possession of first place and take that into the playoffs. We'll have to see. We're going to go ahead and take a short break.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side